Atheists often justify their atheism by saying there's no evidence for God. But when pressed about what type of evidence they're looking for, it often turns out they're only looking for scientific evidence.
And what other sort of evidence would be effective when looking for something that goes beyond mere concept and exists outside the mind? Name for me anything else for which we'll accept another kind of proof. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. Bionic Dance here. Theists often get grumpy when someone won't accept their god's existence using faith, demanding more solid, indeed actually testable, evidence for their god's existence. You don't even get many who'll say, yeah, okay, I can see why that might be a problem. They usually try to come up with something else we accept without physical evidence, like a parent's love or something, as if emotions are in the same category as a frickin' deity. Like that will somehow make us change our minds. They duck and dodge and weave to get out of their burden of proof, probably because they know they can't deliver.
But this quest for truth starts off on the wrong foot.
The wrong foot being that it's not a search for something as nebulous as truth. The quest is for knowledge, for facts. We're looking for something's existence here. If you're not doing it with the hard sciences, then you're doing it wrong.
Science is an empirically based discipline, and as such is ordered to physical reality within our physical universe. But if science is detecting powers or restricted to physical reality, and God, by definition, is a non-physical being, well then, how could science in principle detect God?
By inference. Most holy books claim that their God has had a direct physical effect on their world, turning people into salt, orbital striking cities, flooding the frickin' planet, and so forth. If we can see such phenomena, study them scientifically, and find that there is no rational physical reason for why they happened, we can start to infer from that data the possibility of something supernatural at play. I find it interesting that as soon as we develop the kind of technology that could make such assessments, the miracles seem to dry up. So either your God went into hiding, or all those claims about his magical interference are merely legend. If your God never affected the world, what possible reason would you have for thinking such a creature exists, or that it's important in any way? And that says nothing at all about assessing his, her, its, or their nature, confirming that it's your God. If you want anybody but the gullible and the directionless to join your religion, you still have all of your work ahead of you.
Science can no more detect God than a metal detector can detect plastic cups. And to not believe in God because there is no scientific evidence for him is as unreasonable as refusing to believe there are plastic cups on the beach because the metal detector provided no evidence for them.
There is no point looking for plastic cups at all unless we already know that they exist to be found, that we even could go looking for them. Have you seen plastic cups before? Or did you make up their existence and then go looking for them? That's why this analogy stinks. The available data suggests that gods, any gods, are human inventions, stories. Before we even go looking, you've got to give us a reason to want to try. You don't see me looking for UFOs, no matter how much I might wish they were real. Why not? Because all we have are stories, and a few crop circles that any humans could have made. Hell, we have more evidence for UFOs than we have for your God. And I'm still not looking for them. You're gonna have to do better.
Similarly, science's inability to detect God says nothing about whether or not God exists. It's simply a manifestation of the limitations of the detecting powers of science.
Actually, it says a great deal about the existence of God. As I pointed out before, there is nothing else which is mind external and not just a concept or an idea to which we give such a pass. To make the claim that a God exists outside of the mind would exist even if every other thinking creature in the universe ceased to exist requires the same kind of proof we demand for everything else, unless you manage to come up with a new form of detection. There are plenty of things throughout history which human scientific understanding was unable to find, didn't even know existed, like radiation or all of the different forms of invisible gases. But we did eventually find ways to discover their existence through testing. But the claim of religion is that God's existence is already known. Yet testable evidence is not forthcoming. And while absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, anything asserted without evidence can be discarded the same way. Talking out of your ass doesn't get you any points on the existence scoreboard.
To say that God doesn't exist because science can't detect him is to confuse the method for knowing reality with reality itself.
Atheism is about not having belief in gods, and not every atheist has said that God definitely doesn't exist. So let me clarify what's actually being said here. Even if a God exists, you're full of shit. Your claims of a God's existence cannot be verified in any objective, testable, verifiable fashion, and thus have no validity. Even if you're right, you haven't shown it, and thus, I continue to not believe. Now, don't take it personally. No theist has managed what you haven't, but it's still the case that you've given me no reason to believe you.
In order to know the things that science can't, such as God, we must use other methods, such as philosophy.
Technically, science is a subcategory of philosophy. But he is obviously talking about the metaphysical conceptual part of deep thinking, the layman's colloquial version of the term. The problem, however, is that when philosophy looks at the existence of God problem, we're still left with reasons that are deeply flawed or untestable, leaving us again with no reason to believe in a deity. We're forced to use faith, no matter the ideas presented. While speaking as an epistivist, one who won't use faith to reach conclusions, I'm not prepared to accept such arguments. Until and unless God's existence can be shown in a verifiable manner, assertions of God's existence will be treated as legends or fairy tales with unfortunately unruly fans.
So, it really doesn't matter that science can't detect God, and therefore it's not a justifiable reason to be an atheist.
Of course it is. There is no reason to be a believer, and there really is only one other choice. There are God-botherers, and then there is every other part of the universe which does not fit that description. Obviously, though, Spanky here means a strong atheist, someone who asserts that God does not exist, rather than a non-believer of any stripe. You might call me a selectively strong atheist. I can confidently say that the gods I've had described to me did not exist. They've come with too many contradictions, too many assertions about them which fail with even the tiniest bit of investigation. But if someone presents something a little more verifiable, I'm open to having a look, but you'll have to do better than this fellow has. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is Bionic Dance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.
You know, Dewey, we wouldn't have to do this if I had more Patreon patrons. Just saying.
Well, whoever that is, she's gotta get by us. Go get her, Sandra!
Schmoozer the Schmoozerian? Good evening. As a duly designated representative of the YouTube channel Bionic Dance, I order you to cease any and all trolling activity and return forthwith to your website of origin or to the nearest convenient internet site.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Sandra.
Do you believe in God?
No?
Then subscribe!
Sandra, when someone asks you if you believe in God, you say, wait, actually you got that right. Never mind.